Alright, so today I'll be making my own tier list in toilet tower defense where I'll be ranking every unit from S tier to F tier. If you guys disagree with my tier list, please let me know what you would have done different, but without further ado, let's just get right into it. So the first unit that we're going to rank is the Titan Cameraman. So it costs 750 to place down and it's an exclusive, so which means it costs Robux. And it's actually really strong like in the harder maps, for example the Toilet HQ or the Cameraman HQ. So I would probably put it in S tier, to be honest. Like, I have this one and it does really do the job for me, so it's actually a really good unit. It's really solid. The next unit is the Scientist Cameraman, which does heal your base like every time a new wave comes, so it's actually a really good one like on the starter levels, but once you get to the harder ones where there are like bosses everywhere, it wouldn't be like that efficient. So for that, I would put it in maybe C tier. The next unit is the Scientist Money guy. I don't know what it's called, but it is the scientist that gives you money every wave. So this could actually be really strong if you're looking to like place down some really expensive units. And for that, I would put it in A tier because it does help your gameplay a lot. Next up, we have the TV Woman, which is the one that like shoots out fire, I believe. And it does do AoE and it does like damage over time, so I think it's actually a really good one. It costs Robux as well. This is also an exclusive and it's actually one of the cheaper exclusives, I believe. I think it costs like 100 Robux or something like that, but it is really strong, so I'll put it on B tier. But yeah, moving on to the Titan TV Man, it costs $1,000, which is actually really hard to place down, and I think it's actually a really good one because it has a massive like AoE range. So if you put it like in a good spot, it might just kill all of the enemies. So for that, I would put it in S tier as well because it's one of the better Titans in my opinion. Moving on to the next unit, we have the Titan Speaker Man, and this is also a legendary, so it's 1%. So it's actually really hard to get, but it is cheaper than all of the other Titans, as you guys see right here. So the Titan Cameraman is 750 and the Titan TV Man is 1000. But the Titan Speaker Man is 500. But I guess it does make sense since the Titan Speaker Man isn't as good as them in my opinion. But it does like a little bit, so I'll put it maybe in B tier for now if they don't buff it, because it doesn't have any AoE and it shoots pretty slow. So yeah, that's why I put it on B tier. Next up, we have the Mech Cameraman, and this one it could be a little bit strong like on the easier maps, but once you get to the harder ones, I would recommend you guys using the Titans because they're a little bit stronger in my opinion. But yeah, these ones doesn't take up like as much space as the Titans, but yeah, it does a lot of damage as well, but not as much as the other Titans, so I'll put this one on A tier. Moving on to the next one, we have the Ninja Cameraman. This one could be strong like on the starts of every game, like it's a really good starter unit, but once you get into the game you might like want to delete it and just place down like other Titans or something like that that does like a lot more damage, since there's going to be a lot more bosses like late games. So I'll put this one on maybe B tier. Next up, we have the Large TV Man, and this one costs 400 to place down, which is pretty expensive, so you won't be able to put this down like directly when you get into a game, but it is pretty strong, especially for beginners because it's like a little bit easier to get since it's an epic. But I'll put it on C tier for now because it does AoE damage as well, but it doesn't do as much as the Titan TV Man. Or you know what, I'll place it on B tier. Next up, we have the Large Cameraman, and this one could be pretty strong in starter games as well. For example, in the desert, when you just want to beat it, you can basically just put down the Large Cameraman and it should get you guys the job done. But for that, I'll put it on B tier as well because it's a pretty good unit. Next up, we have the Large Speaker Man, and this one is a rare, so it's not an epic, which makes it a little bit easier to get, and it's a little bit cheaper to place down than the Large Cameraman. And I'll put this one about on C tier because it is really good on the starts as well as all of the other large ones, but I think that the other ones are a little bit better than this one. Next up, we have the Surveillance Camera guy. I don't know what it is, but yeah, the Surveillance guy. And this one does have a lot of range, like I think it almost has as much as the Titan Cameraman, but it doesn't do as much damage as all of the other units. But I'll place it on B tier because it does take up a lot of range. Next up, we have the Normal TV Man, and it's basically just a D upgrade of the Large TV Man, so I'll put it on C tier. Next up, we have the Cameraman, and it costs $100 to place down, which is really cheap. and it's also uncommon, so which makes it a little bit easier to get. And yeah, it could be a little bit good like in the starter games on the easier levels, like for example the Toilet City or the Desert, but it doesn't do that much damage, so I'll put it on D tier. Moving on, we have the Camera Woman, and this one is not good in my opinion. Like, it just doesn't do anything for you, so for that I'll just put it on F tier. Like, the DPS of that thing is really bad. Next up we have the normal Speaker Man, and this one doesn't do as much damage. Like, it's the same as the Camera Woman in my opinion, but yeah, for that I'll just place it in F tier. Like, nobody uses this one except if you're like a beginner, so yeah, I'll just put it on F tier because it doesn't do anything on the higher levels. And next up we have the Medic Cameraman. This one could be a little bit good in the higher levels, for example in the Toilet HQ when there are like a lot of stunning enemies, and when there are a lot of stuns you might need a medic because that will unstun your units, and for that I'll place it on C tier because it doesn't do anything on the lower levels. Like, it only has one job. Next up we have the Speaker Helicopter. This one is also a AoE, and it's kind of like the TV Man, except it's like a little bit less range and it costs a little bit less, so I'll just place it on C tier as same as the TV Man. And next up we have the Engineer. This one is actually really good. I've seen it once in the game, and I think you can get it from the crate, like 1% from it, and yeah, it's actually a really OP unit, so I'll place it on S tier for now. Next up we have the Jetpack Cameraman, and this is actually a really strong one. It costs 200 Robux in the exclusive shop, and I think it's a little bit better than the Titan Cameraman in some situations. So yeah, I'll just place it on S tier because the DPS of that thing is like really good. Next up we have the Secret Agent. I just made a video recently where I got this one, and it's not really that strong. Like, I tried it once and I've never used it since, so I'll just place it on like maybe C or D tier, probably like C tier, like right there. It's mainly used to just kill the bosses a little bit easier. Now we have the Laser Cameraman car, and I also have this one. I'm actually using it a lot like on the start games, but other than that I usually just switch it out for the Titan Cameraman, since the Titan Cameraman is basically just an upgrade from this one. But I'll place this one on A tier because it could do a lot of damage. And lastly we have the Camera Helicopter, and this one does place down like units, and it's basically like the Engineer but just a downgrade. But it does make sense because it's an epic, but yeah, it's actually really good like for being an epic, and in my opinion it is the best epic in the game. So I'll place it on A tier right now. And yeah, this is my tier list, and if you guys are disagreeing with me on anything, please let me know in the comments and I'll be reading all of the comments. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!